Welcome back. Now, Higher Education Minister Blade Nzimande has announced steps to place Unisa under administration following a report that uncovered financial maladministration at the university. Trade unions and student movements are rallying to fight this decision. And joining us to discuss this further is Mametlwe Sebei. He's a lecturer at the institution who says it is doubtful that the Higher Education Department is intervening today to stop the capture of the university by tenderpreneurs. A very good evening to you, and thank you as always for joining us on eNCA. Just maybe start broadly with the concerns that you've raised around decisions that have been made about Unisa of late. I mean, the university has been going through quite some trouble for a while now, and one would think that this is probably the best route given what we've seen over the last few months or so.
Well, I think let's start here. Right? Many members of the communities and students, of course, have every reason to be concerned about Unisa and what has been going there for some time. A lot of that has been detailed in the ministerial task team, which completed its investigation in 2021 and handed a report which detailed a lot of problems regarding student administrations, financial mismanagement, institutional governance issues. All of those problems are correct and legitimate. But the problem here is this. Since 2021, when that report was handed over, there has been an appointment, basically, of the new VC, but also a number of changes within the university executive management. And with that, we've seen a turn in the situation for better, both in terms of financial, problems that the university had. And this management, I've seen it leading, a fight against tenderpreneurship in the university, which has subverted university systems and which has, which was plundering the university through a corruption and all of that. And I think the results of which are already evident in the improved financial position of the university, which increased its reserves from 9 billion to about 16 billion rand. We've also seen increased support for students. As of August, we've been instructed as lecturers to start providing weekly lectures for students. But also we've seen improvements in terms of ratings of university, both in terms of its research output, but also in terms of the impact of its academic program in terms of UN Sustainable Development Goals. And those reports were released by the Times World University Ranking, which put university at number 7 in the country. And of course, DHT, that is Department of Higher Education and Training, Research Output Report, which has placed university at number 8 in terms of research output in the country. And that is indication that things have been turning better, particularly in the past 2 years. That process needs to be supported. More than that, we need to say, how then do we step out a fight against corruption in the university, financial mismanagement, and tenderpreneurial interests that are subverting the university resources for their own ends?
So what consultations, if any, if you're aware, did the minister have when it came to making this decision? If you say that over the last 2 years or so, there has been a steady turnaround and a positive one at the university, what informed the decision, in your opinion, to then place it under administration?
Since 2021, then the minister appointed the independent assessor. That is Professor Musia, who it turned out he's actually conflicted by his relationship with the former registrar of the university, who is implicated in number of this corruption, including corruption in the development or upgrading of the house of the VC, including a number of instances of misconduct for which I think the university suspended him and so on. And what then that report did is that it took issues that were correctly identified by ministerial task team, problems that are real, including of unmarked assignments, problems, within, the governance of the university, all these problems that are real and genuine, and problems which I must say, many people would correctly think, would think that they support the university be placed under administration. And it was that report that then formed a basis for recommendation of university to be placed under administration. And it's not coincident that that decision and that recommendation is supported by this former and now this, I think, suspended registrar of the university and the cabal around him, who that I think represent a fight back in the university and who want to, of course, continue the corruption that I think has been happening there and so on. Now, the problem, and I think what concerns me about the minister's decision, is that it gives credence to a lot of those allegations that, in fact, are part of a lot of those allegations that suggest that Unisa moving away from tenders that have cost university hundreds of millions and billions of rands, that actually those practices need to be restated. For instance, in the minister's decision, he makes a point about splitting of the tenders in order not to follow a supply chain management. Now, let me just give you a context to that. University had a tender for a laptop procurement. So every staff member is supposed to be given a laptop as a working or tool of trade, right? That was going to be done through a tender. Now, this new VC and the management around her decided that no, that doesn't need a tender. In fact, every staff must be given a cash advance to buy that in an open market. That decision, according to accounting reports that are now doing circulation, it has saved university about 400 million. That is each staff member able to buy a laptop wherever that laptop is sold at the cheapest and affordable rate, meeting specifications set out by the ICT department of the university. If it was a tender, it would have costed over 400 million more. Now, when the minister says those are some of the problems, that is, us cancelling, tenders, then you have to wonder, when they want to then place the university under administration, is it that they want to reinstate these tenders? In whose interest? Where has these tenders actually ever taken society, public services, and state-owned institutions forward? If anything, are these not the same tenders that have collapsed ESCOM? Are these not the same tenders that have collapsed SAA, that have ensured that public service is literally on its needs and not anywhere serving the interests of the working class people for whom public services is in many cases life and death situation? If you look at, for instance, situation within public health,
on the back of that concern that you've just raised, we have run out of time, but I have to just get in a question here about a way forward in terms of what your plan would be, or that of different stakeholders to challenge what the minister has now put forward.
So the issue is, I think university must do away with tenders. That's the first point. Two, I think this management must, convene the assembly of university where students, workers, communities could be invited along with academics to deliberate about the plan to ensure that there's improvement in the support for the students, to ensure that problems with administration of the university are sorted out. More than that, to the extent that there are real problems in terms of institutional governance, and from what I can see, the Council of University is not properly functional. I think there has to be fresh elections based on a democratically elected representative of students, of academic staff, of workers and communities to ensure that that council represents the interests of the whole university, can defend the institutional autonomy of the institution, both from this government that I think has facilitated capture everywhere, but also from the predatory tenderpreneur interest, as well as ensuring that we transform the university to a highest academic standards in terms of the quality of teaching, but also in terms of ensuring that its research is responsive and meaningfully contribute to the development of our communities, as well as ensuring that we broaden access to education.
Mametlwe, thank you very much for your time. That is Mr. Mametlwe Sebei, who is a lecturer at Unisa's Department of Professional Ethics, joining us to unpack that decision made by the minister there and why it's problematic. And just like that, our